Thank you very much. There's a way in which basically what I'm going to say is that everything that I said is true. It's all very solid advice. She was quite generous in suggesting that I personally received this $800,000 grant from the National Science Foundation. As you can see, there were 4 other people who were also deeply involved in writing the proposal and are now deeply involved in managing the project. So I'm going to focus around advice. I want to say that tomorrow at the 4:45 slot, you can hear, we have a panel about this project. We'll have a chair of the computer science department, Loudon Volk, who's one of our principal investigators, and 3 other people who are involved in various ways in the project. So we'll have a multi-perspectival look at it. But what I'm going to do now is not describe the project, except incidentally as I focus on advice that I think will be helpful for at least some kinds of projects that people might want to be involved in. The first thing I have to say is think big, be ambitious. If you're going to go for a large grant, go for a really big one. $800,000 was the absolute maximum you could get from the particular program where we received our money. Of course, it's not just the amount of money. You've got to think of a really ambitious goal, and our focus was on incorporating communication outcomes into computer science and also software engineering curricula. And we are dealing with what we present, and I think rightly, justifiably perceive as a transformative approach to providing communication instruction in computer science and software engineering programs. You can see that our project also is a 3-year project. Not only, I think, should you think about having an interdisciplinary team, but think about having an interinstitutional team. Ours involved people in both computer science and in composition, rhetoric, and so on, at both Miami University and North Carolina State University. You can see our team overall was big. We had 5 PIs, but also 36 other people involved in the project. And together they represent 14 institutions, and we also have about a dozen industry representatives who are working with us. Here are some of the people coming in for the first day of our first meeting last summer. And here's a smaller group that were several working in parallel, interviewing. This is an exchange between the communication across the curriculum, software engineering people, and people from the software engineering profession. Frame a reader-centered or funder-centered problem. I think this is really key. I don't think you're going to get a lot of purchase for most grants if you say, oh, in composition and rhetoric, people have this question. And you've got to, as Joanna was suggesting, you need to make your project one that solves a larger, broader problem. Promise something new, and what's new, there are at least 3 things that we see as very new in our project. There's no sense in just saying we're going to try to do what other people have done on it, we're going to do it in a new place. So we're looking at integrating student learning outcomes, communication outcomes at both the course and program level, and having the instruction that would be provided and also the assignments be evaluated and the guidance for students, all provided by the computer science software engineering faculty. Now, this is different from a WAC project. I want to emphasize that we're really in a different kind of project here, because our goal is not to say, why don't you get some writing into your course? Our goal is to say, why don't you teach some writing? Also, our project includes speaking, reading, and teaming. But why don't you teach these things in your courses? That's a much different project than is usually undertaken in the kind of WAC with mode. Also, as we think about the courses we're looking at, we're really targeting programs and curriculum. We're going to programs overall, and not just courses and instructors. And the reason is that we're trying to develop a way in which students' communication abilities develop progressively as students advance through their degrees, in the same way that their technical knowledge, for instance, advances through their degrees. It's not just have some writing here, have some writing there, but a conscious attempt to build as students proceed from the introductory course to the capstone course. Again, we're looking at 6 courses. Robust assessment, I think, in almost every context is going to be really essential. Of our $800,000, $100,000 is going to an independent assessment group. And that group also has two consultants, domain-specific consultants, as part of their effort. Also, to the extent that you can, build on previous strengths and accomplishments, or start building those initial accomplishments. In our case, all of us had already had some funding from the National Science Foundation. Two of our people, our PIs, had those $500,000 career grants from the National Science Foundation. And we had other projects previously, which was very small ones, like one was only $40,000 and another was only $5,000, but they were on the same kind of topic. So we were able to talk about this as a continuation of an ongoing research effort. Think about building the small projects and building them towards the larger projects. Here's something we neglected to do, which is include funds to support staff within our budget. Fortunately, I direct the House Center for Writing Excellence, which has a $10 million endowment, and I've been able to supply through that center some additional support that we didn't budget for from NSF. $800,000 in the end, it's not that much. It goes away fast. I'd like to suggest also that you might think about taking successful projects or approaches or concepts from one domain to another. So we were funded by the National Science Foundation, by one particular director in the National Science Foundation, computer and information science and education, I should say science and engineering. But there are lots of other directorates in the NSF. They would be interested in, I think, in the same sort of thing in many other fields, not just computer science and software engineering, but lots of other engineering fields and lots of other science fields. And also, think about how things that you were working on or colleagues are working on, things that interest you, and try to take the concept or the vision and think about how to apply it somewhere else. The way we're working, the project we're working on, we think has an approach that could be very productive in the social sciences, the humanities, and so on. We'd love to see other people proposing projects and getting funding for projects in these other domains. Hey, once the project starts, have fun. Thank you very much.